So earlier this month, I created this ad and it turned out to be one of the most successful ads that I created this month. I want to be able to walk you through the thought process because there's a method behind this madness, okay? And this is basically, you can call it controversial posts, polarizing posts, unpopular opinion. But basically what this ad was, first of all, let me explain the context, okay? So this ad was posted just about slightly earlier this month. It was called Gaston Would Have Closed Bell If You Knew This, okay? So now, first of all, if you take a look at this ad title, just the hook, right? It's obviously not a neutral or normal stance, right? Because obviously Gaston is the bad guy and the Beast is, you know, the whole Disney moral of the story is that, you know, Gaston is evil, he's a narcissist, egoistic, male chauvinist. And anybody that sides Gaston would obviously, it would be an unpopular opinion, right? Now, obviously I knew that, and that's, by the end of this video, you're going to be able to see why, when you understand this one simple concept in marketing, which is how prolific or how polarizing your content might be, it's going to be the thing that's going to attract a much bigger crowd and a much bigger audience. And today you're going to start seeing why and how you can start applying this in your content as well as in your ads. Okay, so this video over here, first of all, here's what happened. Okay, now this was to get people to a webinar. And if you take a look at, first of all, I'm going to show you the comments in a second, but let's take a look at the numbers. Okay, here's what happened. Now, as you know, organic is pretty much dead. Okay, you can see that, you know, today I might have 2 million followers on the Facebook page, but Facebook, if you take a look at the numbers, like organic is dying every single day. Okay, and Facebook only probably shows it to like 0.01% usually to my audience. However, let's take a look at what happened in the first 2 days. Okay, the first 2 days it had about 73,000 views, and if you take a look at the numbers, okay, take a look at this distribution summary. Okay, you can see that this was 35x higher than most posts. It had 50x higher, more 1-minute views and 45 times more comments. And here's the crazy thing. Like this ad here, even though I didn't put any money in it yet, it did close to sales. It did sales close to 6 figures for us. And I know that it's going to be an ad that I can use forever. Okay, that I can pay money and pay Facebook to start showing to more people the next time I do this webinar. So this webinar is already over. I'm utilizing this as a case study so they can start utilizing this one ingredient in your content. So what does this mean? Well, let's take a look again, okay? So while I had people messaging and DMing me on how they love the ad, there was also an equal, if not more, people telling me how this ad is stupid, okay? Now, let's take a look at some of the comments, okay? So for example, it says here, right? It's like, this guy says, I'm here just for comments. I watched the video, but I like the discussion, right? And you know, first of all, I was slightly offended by the idea of closing a woman, you know, and some people will tell me like the obvious, you know, like Gaston is narcissist, right? He didn't respect what she loved the most, and some of them would even write like essays. Like, how about this person here? It's like, well, Gaston was a straight up narcissist, and you know, like he was saw her as just a trophy and submitted to his will, and right, heaven forbid if she should marry the love or remain single, right? And then there were all these, you know, the whole feminist side of. Now, obviously, what I'm trying to get you to see is that when you create an ad or a piece of content, I want you to remember this, okay? Normal is boring. So before I take a look at more comments and show you guys like how to think about this, can you imagine if this video was called "Why Beast in Beauty and the Beast was the good guy? Here's why Belle married Beast and was happily ever after." Right? Here's why Gaston was you know, narcissist and doesn't deserve Belle. Right? If you said anything that was the obvious and tried to get the mass majority without offending anybody, I want you to remember that normal is boring. And if you try to make everybody happy by having a neutral standpoint, you will end up getting nobody. right? But as a result of this, take a look at this, right? So like, no offense, bro, but I think Gaston is like you. Well, no matter what he says, it doesn't matter. Well, I'll take that as a compliment, okay? Now, whatever it is, right? So obviously in this video here, what I was doing is I was coming from the angle of, you know, Gaston might be egoistic and narcissistic. He doesn't deserve to die, right? Because of that, right? And I was coming from the angle of, you know, Beast, if anything, he captured, right? He kidnapped Belle. Anyway, so the point is not about the argument, okay? So the point is to show you that, take a look at, like, people would write essays, right? Gaston has a toxic personality, yada yada yada, right? So have you seen Gaston? He's repulsive, right? Belle chose Beast because he's got a huge library, right? Yeah, right, whatever, right? So the point is, you know, this is about Stockholm syndrome. This is a horrible, you know, it's a shite theory, right? So the point I'm trying to make is that if you take a look at this, right, like take a look at these essays that's being submitted. The point, if you are taking a look at this, is that, you see this, right? I love how the comments and the concept bait, like this guy, he wrote another essay over here, and these comments were just like, that is what's getting attention, and that is what made it extremely profitable. So understand something, okay? All these people that's commenting, the ones who don't agree, guess what? They're not buying anyway. But the ones who do, and the ones that is sharing the videos, and the ones that is supportive of this argument, okay? First of all, they're not even commenting. They're just heading over to the link and they're buying, okay? So what am I trying to get you to see? First of all, if you take a look at all these different comments, there's going to be people who will like it, who will agree with it, who will think it's funny and innovative, right? There'll be some people who, well, a lot of people who would disagree. But what I'm trying to get you to see is this. It's coming from the angle of, in your market, there's always the safe, normal, neutral message. And that is boring. And if you try to do that, guess what? You're going to offend nobody, but you also get nobody as well. Now, if you think about, like, the best marketers in the world that don't necessarily brand themselves as marketers, they could be politicians, world leaders, thought leaders, whatever it is you want to call them, you're going to realize that the thing, their stand, is usually you'll have 50% of people hating and disagree with them and criticizing them, calling them morons. And there's the other 50% of people who would support them. And you could have 50% of the world hating on you, and you could still become a world leader or a president, right? Now, what does this have to do with content creation? Even if you think about it, like this video here is polarizing, right? There's going to be people who's like, well, you know, and I'm not talking about creating content for the sake of offending people, right? I don't consider myself as a polarizing person, but I understand that polarity is going to be one of the most powerful things in marketing, okay? So this is known as like the prolific index. It's kind of like how prolific is your content. Okay, so over here in the middle, it's like normal, and this is like mainstream, right? This is what everybody says. So if you think about like, and this could be applied in any market. So for example, let's take weight loss, okay? If you came from the angle of normal and neutral, which is, that is safe, that everybody would agree on, it would be, well, did you know that if you want to lose weight, you got to be able to utilize the, you know, the food pyramid, and basically eat less carbs and less fat, and have some, you know, have protein intake, right? And if you came from that angle, you won't get anybody. Why? Because that's normal, and normal is boring. However, if you were to come to one of these angles and change the game, and that would come from the angle of, did you know that fat is actually good for you? If you came from that angle, like, a person would go, huh? That's not right. You know, I've been told that fat is bad for me my whole life. And then if you came from this angle and saying, that's right, you know, there's good fat and there's bad fat. Like fat from fish oil and avocados is actually good for you, and then there's bad fat, right? But there's good fat and bad fat, and this good fat will actually help you burn fat by actually taking fat, right? And if you think about it, that's what the whole keto diet is all about, right? So this challenges the norm. Same thing, it could be coming from an angle of, did you know that breakfast is actually bad? That's right, your whole life, you know, being told that breakfast is a good thing, right? You gotta eat your cereal, and but did you know that, in fact, that's the thing that keeps you tired? And again, like the whole intermittent fasting thing, right? If this is your market, this brings it away from normal, and that's why it's interesting. That's why it's shareable. That's why people are tagging their friend, because it's unconventional. So what does this mean? It means that when it comes to your content, you want to think about these few words, okay? You want to think about what is the unpopular opinion, right? So for example, like Gaston would have closed Bell if he knew this technique. I knew that that's not going to be a popular opinion, because obviously, 90% of people would disagree with that if they, watch the movie, because Gaston is obviously the bad guy, right? Can you come from an angle of, and it's lack for a better word, it's not offensive, right? Even though there were people offended. And here's the thing, you're going to discover as well, in the journey of content creation, no matter what it is that you do, as long as you take a stand, there's going to be people that is going to be offended, right? There's going to be people that's offended by this video, right? And that's just the way it is. I'm offended that you're offended. Right, these days, like everybody's like it's like a being offended competition. Let's compete and see who can be more offended. Well, I'm really offended that you're offended right now. It's not about offending people or creating controversy just for the sake of eyeballs, but really thinking about what makes your content prolific, and can you take a stand on something, knowing very well that by taking a stand, that is where you will definitely have 50% of people agreeing with you and percent of people disagreeing with you. So whether it's about getting jabbed, whether it is about your stand on Black Lives Matter, whether it's your stand on Me Too, whatever it is, right? The moment you take a stand on anything, it doesn't need to be political, that is when you will create polarity. And you're going to realize that there'll be the 50% who will disagree with you, and that's fine. These are people that's never going to buy from you anyway. But the 50% of you, and sometimes it doesn't need to be 50%, it could be 20%, who will agree with you and like you, these are the main people who are going to be your rabbit buyers. So guess what? This ad here got a ton of hate. But guess what? The people who did love it, they are the ones who bought. And if I came from the angle that was safe and neutral, again, coming from the angle of, hey, here's why, Gaston was a narcissist, it probably wouldn't have gotten the same kind of attention this get. And this video, by the way, it's just the beginning, right? The next time I do this webinar again, I'm just going to run it as an ad again. And that's what makes content engaging. The sad part is this. The sad part is what's stopping many of you content creators is you're trying to get everybody to like you. And when you try to get everybody to like you, that's when you end up getting nobody. Hope this piece helped you today. If you enjoyed this video, first of all, let me know in the comments below what your biggest takeaway is. And as always, smash the like button, subscribe if you choose to, if you weren't offended. And I'll see you in the next video.